My brother claims my video game hobby proves I'm immature and should give up my apartment to real adults. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to get this off my chest before I lose my mind. My name is Michael, I'm 31, and apparently, according to my older brother David, I'm too immature to deserve the apartment I've been renting for the past 5 years. Let me give you some background. I work as a software engineer for a tech company downtown. I make good money, pay all my bills on time, maintain excellent credit, and have never once been late on rent. I live alone in a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a family-friendly complex that has great amenities: pool, gym, playground, the works. The second bedroom serves as my home office and gaming room. Here's where the controversy begins. Yes, I'm a gamer. I have a decent PC setup, a couple of consoles, and I probably spend 15 to 20 hours a week playing various games. It's my primary hobby, the way some people watch sports or collect stamps. I'm part of an online guild. I occasionally stream on Twitch for fun, not for money, and I've made some genuine friendships through gaming over the years. My brother David has always looked down on this. He's married with 2 kids, Tyler, 6, and Emily, 4, and currently lives in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment across town that costs about $400 more per month than mine. He's been struggling financially since his wife Sharon had to reduce her hours at work after Emily was born. The issue started 3 months ago when David brought his family over for dinner. Tyler saw my gaming setup and was absolutely mesmerized. He spent the entire evening asking me about different games, watching me play some age-appropriate stuff, and generally having a blast. Emily joined in too, and we all had fun playing some family-friendly games together. That should have been a nice uncle-nephew bonding moment, right? Wrong. After they left, David texted me a lengthy message about how I was setting a bad example by showing Tyler that grown men waste their lives on children's toys. He said I should be embarrassed to have a room dedicated to juvenile pursuits, and that at my age, I should be focused on real adult responsibilities. I brushed it off initially. David has always been judgmental about my hobbies. In high school, he mocked me for being in the chess club. In college, he called my D&D group a bunch of virgins playing make-believe. I learned long ago that his approval wasn't worth chasing. But then last month, things escalated. David found out through our building's community Facebook page that a 3-bedroom unit in my complex was becoming available. These units rarely open up. It's a great location with reasonable rent, and people tend to stay for years. David immediately texted me saying he was going to apply for it. I wished him luck, genuinely hoping he'd get it. More space would be good for his family. But then he dropped the bomb: "Actually, you should give up your apartment to me instead. It would be perfect for us, and you could take our current place or just move back with Mom and Dad." Let's be honest, a single guy playing video games doesn't need all that space. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. David went on to explain that real families deserved priority over perpetual adolescents like me. He said my gaming hobby was proof that I hadn't truly grown up, and that the apartment complex's family-friendly amenities were wasted on someone like me who refuses to embrace adult life. He even suggested that me living there was selfish, because I was taking up space that could go to people who actually need it. I told him absolutely not. I pay my rent, I'm a good tenant, and I have just as much right to live there as anyone else. The fact that I enjoy video games doesn't make me less of an adult or less deserving of housing. I pointed out that I use the gym regularly, swim in the pool, and am friendly with many of my neighbors. I'm not some hermit who only emerges to grab DoorDash deliveries. David's response? He called our parents. Now, my parents have always been fairly reasonable people, but David knows how to push their buttons. He painted a picture of me as this pathetic man-child, wasting away in front of screens while his children suffer in inadequate housing. He emphasized how Tyler and Emily need their own rooms, how the better school district would benefit them, and how I'm squandering an opportunity to help family. My mother called me the next day, and while she didn't outright demand I give up my apartment, she did ask if I'd considered it. She mentioned that maybe it was time I thought about what really matters in life, and suggested that helping David's family could be a mature, selfless decision. She also dropped hints about how she worries I'm too isolated with my computer games, and maybe a change would be good for me. I explained to her that I'm perfectly happy with my life. I have friends, both online and offline, I date occasionally, I exercise regularly, I cook my own meals, I save money, I volunteer at the local animal shelter on weekends. I'm a functioning adult who happens to enjoy video games. But she kept circling back to how David's family needs the space more than I do. The conversation ended with me firmly but politely stating that I would not be giving up my apartment. But I have a feeling this isn't over. David has already made several passive-aggressive posts on Facebook about how some people value their toys more than family, and how real men make sacrifices for the next generation. I'm frustrated, hurt, and honestly questioning if I'm being unreasonable. I work hard for what I have. Why should I give it up because my brother made different life choices? And why is my hobby being used as evidence that I'm somehow less deserving of basic things like housing? Am I missing something here? Is enjoying video games really that much of a character flaw? And even if it was, does that mean I should sacrifice my home for someone who spent years belittling me? Update 1, 2 weeks later. Well, things have escalated in ways I didn't expect. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Your support meant more than you know. Unfortunately, the situation has gotten worse. After I refused to give up my apartment, David went nuclear. He started a campaign with our extended family, painting me as selfish and immature. He shared photos of my gaming setup in our family WhatsApp group with captions like, "This is what's more important to Michael than his nephew and niece having proper bedrooms." He conveniently cropped out my work desk, bookshelf, and exercise equipment that are also in that room. The 3-bedroom apartment in my complex? David didn't get it. It went to another family who applied earlier. This somehow became my fault too. David told everyone that if I had been a good brother, I would have talked to the landlord on his behalf or even offered to swap apartments to help his chances. The fact that I didn't was presented as further evidence of my selfishness. But here's where it gets really manipulative. David brought Tyler and Emily to our parents' house last Sunday when he knew I'd be there for dinner. The kids ran up to me excitedly, asking if they could come play games at my house again. Before I could answer, David coldly told them, "Uncle Michael doesn't want you to visit anymore. He needs his space for his toys." The looks on their faces broke my heart. I tried to explain that wasn't true, that they were always welcome, but David cut me off, saying, "Kids, Uncle Michael has made his priorities clear. Some people just never grow up." He then ushered them away while they looked confused and hurt. My parents saw this exchange but said nothing. Later, my father pulled me aside and gave me a lecture about family values. He said while he doesn't expect me to give up my apartment, I should reflect on what kind of example I'm setting. He brought up how David was student body president in high school while I was playing with computers, clearly implying David was the more successful, responsible son. The irony. I make almost double what David makes. I have a solid emergency fund, a growing retirement account, and zero debt besides my car loan. David has maxed out credit cards and has borrowed money from our parents multiple times. But somehow, I'm the immature one because I dare to have hobbies. The situation reached a new low yesterday. I came home to find a note on my door from building management. Apparently, someone filed an anonymous complaint about excessive noise from gaming coming from my apartment. I've lived here for 5 years without a single complaint. I use headphones after 9 p.m., and my immediate neighbors have never mentioned any issues. In fact, my next-door neighbor Linda and I are friendly. She's even asked me for tech advice multiple times. I have no proof, but the timing is suspicious. The complaint specifically mentioned loud gaming noises at inappropriate hours, and suggested I might be hosting gaming parties that disturb families with children. This is completely fabricated. The last time I had anyone over for gaming was 3 months ago, and we played board games, not video games. I spoke with the building manager, Robert, who knows me well. He seemed embarrassed about the whole thing and admitted the complaint seemed out of character for me. He said he's required to follow up on all complaints but assured me that one anonymous complaint wouldn't affect my tenancy. Still, it's now on record. But wait, there's more. This morning, I discovered that David has been screenshotting my social media posts about gaming and sending them to our mutual acquaintances with commentary like, "This is what a 31-year-old man priorities instead of family," and "Some people never leave their childhood behind." A colleague who's connected with both of us on LinkedIn forwarded me one of David's messages where he called me a cautionary tale about extended adolescence in the digital age. This is particularly rich coming from someone who spent his 20s bartending and finding himself while I was building my career. I'm trying to take the high road, but it's exhausting. I've had to explain to multiple people that enjoying video games doesn't mean I'm neglecting some non-existent family or shirking adult responsibilities. I'm single by choice right now, focusing on my career and personal growth. I don't owe anyone grandchildren or a traditional lifestyle. The most frustrating part? If I collected vintage cars, built model trains, or spent my weekends golfing, nobody would bat an eye. But because my hobby involves a screen and a controller, I'm suddenly Peter Pan refusing to grow up. I've decided to document everything, the false noise complaint, the messages to our family, the manipulation of Tyler and Emily. I have a feeling I'm going to need it. David seems determined to punish me for not bending to his will, and I don't think he's done yet. Update 2, 3 weeks later. I need to update again because the situation has taken an absolutely insane turn. I honestly can't believe I'm writing this, but my brother has completely lost his mind. Remember how I mentioned documenting everything? Thank God I did, because what happened last week would be unbelievable without evidence. It started when David convinced our mother that he needed to borrow her key to my apartment. He told her there was a family emergency and he needed to get something I had borrowed, completely fictitious. I hadn't borrowed anything. My mother, believing her responsible son, gave him her spare key without telling me. I came home from work last Tuesday to find my gaming setup completely gone. My PC, monitors, consoles, controllers, games, even my gaming chair, all vanished. In their place was a note in David's handwriting, "Grow up, little brother. I've done you a favor." I immediately called the police. While waiting for them, I called David, who didn't answer. I then called my parents, and my mother was horrified when I told her what happened. She admitted to giving David the key but swore she had no idea what he planned to do. The police took my statement and the note. Since I had proof of purchase for all my equipment and David had literally left a confession, they said it was pretty clear-cut theft. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes without hesitation. While the police were still there, my landlord Robert showed up. He said he'd received a concerning email from a family member, claiming I was having a mental breakdown and needed to be moved out for my own good. The email, allegedly from David, stated that I had agreed to move back with my parents to address my gaming addiction, and asked if Robert could start the paperwork to transfer the lease to David's name. Robert, being a professional, came to check on me in person rather than act on an unverified email. I showed him the police report being filed and explained the situation. He was shocked and immediately said he'd be adding additional security measures to prevent unauthorized lease changes. The next day, David finally responded, but not to me. He posted on Facebook. He claimed he had staged an intervention to save me from my addiction. He wrote a long post about how sometimes family has to make hard decisions, and how he hoped I would thank him someday for forcing me to rejoin the real world. He actually compared himself to someone helping a drug addict, saying the withdrawal would be difficult but necessary. The comments were not what he expected. Our cousin Jennifer, who's a therapist, publicly called him out, explaining that gaming is a legitimate hobby and what he did was theft, not an intervention. Several family members who had initially sided with him started questioning his actions. Our Aunt Patricia, whom David had convinced I was wasting my life, commented, "This is not okay, David. Return his belongings immediately." The best comment came from, surprisingly, my high school friend James, who's now a lawyer. He simply wrote, "What you've described is felony theft and breaking and entering. I hope Michael presses charges." David deleted the post within an hour. Here's where it gets even crazier. That evening, Tyler called me from Sharon's phone, crying. He said Dad had told him that I was sick because I played too many video games, and that's why all my games had to be taken away. This poor kid was worried about me and confused why his dad was acting so strange. I gently told him I was fine and that sometimes adults have disagreements, but I was okay. Sharon took the phone and apologized profusely. This was apparently the first she'd heard about any of this. David had told her he was storing some stuff in their garage but hadn't mentioned it was stolen from me. She was mortified and promised to talk to him. The next morning, I got a call from the police. They had visited David's apartment with a warrant and found all my equipment in his garage, still in the boxes he'd used to transport it. David tried to claim I had given it to him to hold on to while I got help for my addiction, but the note he left destroyed that defense. David was arrested and charged with breaking and entering, grand theft, the value of everything was over $5,000, and attempted fraud for the email to my landlord. Sharon was there and later told me she was in complete shock. She had no idea about any of his plans and was devastated that he'd involved their children in his schemes. My parents are beside themselves. My mother blames herself for giving him the key and has apologized countless times. My father, who had been somewhat sympathetic to David's position, is now furious. He told David he's destroyed the family over jealousy and stupidity. But the real kicker. When the police searched David's apartment, they found he had already listed my gaming PC on Facebook Marketplace. He was planning to sell my belongings to recoup the costs of raising children in expensive housing. He literally thought he was entitled to my property because he had kids and I didn't. Update 3, 1 month later. It's been a month since what I've come to call the Great Gaming Heist, and I wanted to provide an update on how everything has shaken out. First, the legal situation. David ended up pleading guilty to misdemeanor theft and trespassing charges. The prosecutor reduced the charges in exchange for the guilty plea and because it was a first offense. He was sentenced to 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, and ordered to pay restitution, though I already have my stuff back. He also has a restraining order that prevents him from coming within 500 feet of my apartment or workplace. The family fallout has been intense. Sharon filed for separation 2 weeks after David's arrest. She told me she couldn't believe the man she married would do something so cruel and involve their children in it. She's staying with her parents while she figures out next steps. I've made it clear to her that she and the kids are always welcome in my life, regardless of what happens with David. My parents have essentially cut David off. My father told him he's ashamed to have raised someone who would steal from family and try to manipulate children. My mother still cries when the subject comes up. They've apologized to me more times than I can count and have started making an effort to understand my hobbies. My dad even asked me to show him some games, and we spent an afternoon playing co-op in It Takes Two, which was surprisingly healing. The extended family drama has mostly died down. Once the arrest became known, even David's staunchest supporters backed off. Our cousin Jennifer offered me some free therapy sessions to deal with the betrayal, which I've taken her up on. It's helped me process not just this incident but years of David's bullying disguised as concern. As for my living situation, it's better than ever. Robert, my landlord, implemented new security measures including requiring written consent from tenants for any lease changes and installing security cameras in the hallways, with tenant consent. He also told me that after seeing how David acted, he would never consider him as a tenant even if a unit became available. The anonymous noise complaint was officially dismissed after Robert investigated and found no merit to it. He also noted in my file that I'm a model tenant, which was nice to hear. Here's an interesting development. Linda, my next-door neighbor, reached out after hearing about what happened. The arrest was in the local news. She introduced me to her nephew Nathan, who's a fellow gamer and software developer. We've started hanging out, and it's nice to have a local friend who shares my interests. The most surprising outcome? I've become something of a cause célèbre in my online gaming communities. Word got out about what happened, and the support has been overwhelming. My guild threw me a virtual welcome back party, and several streamers I follow mentioned the situation as an example of gaming stigma taken to extremes. I never wanted to be a poster child for gamer rights, but here we are. Tyler and Emily have been staying with Sharon's parents, who live closer to my apartment. I've been able to see them regularly, with Sharon's permission. Tyler was so relieved when I showed him my games were back and I was okay. I've been teaching him age-appropriate games and, more importantly, talking to him about healthy gaming habits and balance. Emily just likes playing with the colorful controllers and watching her brother play. The saddest part of all this is that it didn't have to happen. If David had just been honest about his financial struggles instead of turning it into a crusade against my lifestyle, I would have tried to help. I could have lent him money for a deposit on a better place, helped him budget, or even co-signed a lease if needed. But his pride and judgment got in the way. I've learned a lot from this experience. Mainly, that you shouldn't let anyone make you feel bad about harmless hobbies that bring you joy. I've also learned the importance of boundaries, even with family. Especially with family. Final update, 2 months later. This will be my final update on this wild saga. 2 months have passed since my last post, and life has finally settled into a new normal. David is still on probation and completing his community service. From what I hear through family channels, he's been working at a local food bank. I'd like to think it's giving him some perspective, but I'm not holding my breath. He's attempted to reach out through our parents several times, but I'm not ready for that conversation and may never be. The divorce proceedings between David and Sharon are moving forward. Sharon got primary custody of Tyler and Emily, with David having supervised visitation for now. She's found a nice 3-bedroom townhouse in a good school district. Ironically, one that's less expensive than my apartment complex because it's a bit further from downtown. I helped her move and set up Tyler's room, including a small gaming area with age-appropriate controls. She says it's important for Tyler to see that gaming can be a healthy hobby when balanced with other activities. My relationship with my parents has actually improved through all this. They've made real efforts to understand my life and interests. My mother recently sent me an article about professional esports with a note saying, "I had no idea this was such a big industry." My father has become oddly obsessed with Stardew Valley after I introduced him to it, which has been hilarious to watch. Here's the best part. I've started dating someone. Remember Nathan, Linda's nephew? We hit it off as friends first, bonding over our shared interests and careers. About a month ago, it evolved into something more. He's kind, funny, shares my interests but also encourages me to try new things. We go hiking on weekends, cook together, and yes, play games together. It's been really nice. The experience with David taught me not to hide parts of myself to avoid judgment. When I told Nathan about everything that happened, instead of being scared off by the family drama, he was impressed by how I handled it and stood up for myself. Tyler has become my regular gaming buddy, with Sharon's blessing. Every Saturday afternoon, he comes over for a few hours. We play games for part of the time, but we also do homework, read comics, and just talk. He told me last week that he wants to learn to code like Uncle Michael. Sharon later texted me in tears, thanking me for being a positive role model during such a chaotic time in his life. As for my apartment, I'm still here, still happy, and have no plans to move. Robert recently offered me a lease renewal with no rent increase, citing what a great tenant I've been. The complex has been drama-free, and I've actually gotten to know more of my neighbors since the incident. Turns out, several of them are gamers too. We're talking about starting a monthly board game night. I've done a lot of reflection on why this all happened. I think David saw my contentment as a judgment on his struggles. He couldn't accept that someone could be happy living differently than he thought they should. His financial stress and dissatisfaction with his own life manifested as an attack on mine. It doesn't excuse what he did, but understanding it has helped me find some peace. The gaming setup he tried to steal? It's all back where it belongs, though I did upgrade my security with cameras and better locks. I also got renter's insurance, which I probably should have had all along. Lesson learned. Looking back, I'm oddly grateful for this experience. Not for the trauma and family drama, but for what it revealed. It showed me who truly supports me, helped me establish better boundaries, and reinforced that I don't need to justify my lifestyle to anyone. I'm a responsible, functioning adult who pays his bills, maintains relationships, contributes to society, and happens to enjoy video games. That's not something to be ashamed of or hide. To everyone who's reached out with similar stories or just support, thank you. It's unfortunate how common it is for people to judge others' hobbies, especially when those hobbies don't fit traditional molds. Whether it's gaming, collecting, crafting, or any other passion, as long as you're taking care of your responsibilities and not hurting anyone, enjoy what makes you happy. As for David, I hope he gets the help he clearly needs and finds peace with his own life instead of trying to control others. Maybe someday we can have a relationship again, but it would take a lot of genuine change and accountability on his part. For now, I'm focused on my own life and the family members who've shown me real love and support. And yes, I'm still gaming. Currently obsessed with the new Zelda game. My nephew Tyler and I are racing to see who can find all the shrines first. Life is good. Reflection. 6 months ago, I never imagined I'd be writing this story. What started as my brother's entitled demand for my apartment spiraled into theft, arrest, and family destruction. All because he couldn't accept that a single man who enjoys video games deserves the same respect and rights as anyone else. The strangest part is how normal everything feels now. I go to work, hang out with Nathan, have Tyler over on Saturdays, volunteer at the shelter, and yes, play video games. The drama that consumed my life for those few months feels like a distant nightmare. I've learned that family isn't about blood, it's about respect, support, and love. Sharon, Tyler, and Emily have shown me more genuine family care than David ever did. My parents learned and grew from this experience. New friendships formed from the ashes of old prejudices. Sometimes I wonder if David regrets it. If he lies awake at night thinking about how different things could have been if he'd just asked for help instead of attacking my lifestyle. But then I remember that's not my burden to carry. He made his choices, and I made mine. I chose to stand up for myself, to not let someone else's narrow worldview define my worth. To anyone reading this who's been made to feel less than for their hobbies or lifestyle choices, you're not alone. Whether it's gaming, comics, dolls, trains, or any other passion that brings you joy without harming others, embrace it. The right people will accept you as you are. The wrong ones will remove themselves from your life, and sometimes that's the best gift they can give you. I'm Michael. I'm 31. I'm a software engineer, a gamer, an uncle, a boyfriend, a son, a friend. I'm an adult who pays his bills, contributes to society, and enjoys video games. And that's more than enough. Game on.